Malik was a young black teenager who lived in a small town where everyone seemed to know each other. He was a bright student who liked to learn, especially about numbers and math. But sometimes he found it hard to keep up because of the way some teachers treated him. Each day, he walked to school with a quiet hope that things would get better, even though deep inside he worried if anyone really saw his true potential. Miss Carter was the math teacher at Malik's school, known by many as a strict woman who demanded perfection from her students. She had been teaching for over 20 years and believed that discipline and pressure could push students to do better. However, some students felt she was too harsh, especially Malik, who noticed she often looked at him with less patience than she gave to others. On the morning of a chilly Tuesday, Malik entered the classroom holding his notebook tightly. He sat in the middle row, close enough to hear the voices but far enough to not call too much attention. Today's math lesson was about solving equations, something Malik enjoyed but found a bit tricky, as the numbers and letters sometimes seemed like a confusing puzzle. Carter wrote a problem on the board and asked the class to solve it step by step. Malik took a deep breath and started working on the math problem. He carefully wrote down each step, thinking quietly about how to find the answer. When Miss Carter looked at his paper, her eyes narrowed directly on his work. She called Malik out in front of the whole class. "Malik, what is this?" she asked sharply. "This is not the right method, and you clearly do not understand the problem." Malik's face turned red with embarrassment. He had tried his best, but now everyone was staring at him. Some students giggled quietly. While others looked away, uncomfortable, Malik wanted to explain, but the words got stuck in his throat. Miss Carter continued, "If you cannot get this simple problem right, how do you expect to pass the class?" Her tone made the room feel cold and heavy. After the class, Malik packed his things slowly, feeling the weight of the teacher's words like stones on his back. He walked outside the school building and sat on a bench under a big tree. Trying to calm himself, what hurt the most was not failing the problem, but feeling ashamed in front of everyone. He wished someone could stand up for him or at least say something kind. But the silence around him only made him feel lonelier. At home, Malik's grandmother, whom he lovingly called Granny, noticed his quiet mood. She had always been his strongest supporter, knowing how smart and kind he was. Granny listened carefully when Malik told her what happened in class. His voice was low and sometimes shaky, but she heard the pain behind his words. Granny held his hand and promised him she would help. The next morning, Granny decided to visit the school herself. She wanted to explain to everyone how wrong it was to treat a young boy like Malik as less than he was. At the entrance of the school, Granny's firm steps echoed, catching the attention of staff and students alike. Her eyes searched for the principal's office. When she entered the classroom where Malik had been disgraced, the teacher and students looked up in surprise. Granny's presence was like a sudden storm. Strong and unexpected, she spoke clearly. "I am here because no child should ever feel small or ashamed in a place of learning." Her voice was steady. Demanding respect, the classroom was silent. The usual chatter stopped. Carter looked at Granny with a mixture of shock and something like respect. Granny told the story of Malik's struggles and his hard work, explaining that a child should be encouraged, not put down. Her words touched some hearts, and even Carter seemed to think deeply about what had been said. This day changed many things for Malik and the school. It was the beginning of a conversation about kindness, understanding, and second chances. Malik felt a new strength inside, knowing his Granny was there for him, standing up like a shield. The story had just started, but already it was clear that one voice could shake the walls and open the doors to change. The morning sun had barely risen when Malik woke up with his mind full of mixed emotions. After yesterday's humiliation by Miss Carter, he felt a quiet fire inside him, a desire to prove himself, but also a deep hurt that tugged at his heart as he got ready for school. He remembered Granny's promise that she would stand by him, and that gave him a small but steady strength. Walking to school, Malik's steps felt heavier than usual. Yet beneath the weight was a determination to not let the pain define him. When he entered the classroom, he saw the familiar faces of his classmates, some avoiding eye contact, others whispering quietly. But Malik kept his head high and sat down in his usual seat, ready to face whatever came. Miss Carter began the lesson without acknowledging anything about the previous day, which made Malik feel both relief and suspicion. The problem on the board was even harder than before, and Malik's fingers tightened around his pencil as he started working out the equation. His mind raced, trying to apply the formulas and steps he had rehearsed in silence at home. Suddenly, Miss Carter called him out again, but this time with a sharper tone. "Malik, come here," she said loudly. "Explain how you got this answer." The classroom grew quiet. All eyes shifted to him. The pressure was overwhelming, but Malik swallowed his fear and walked to the front. He pointed to the numbers and explained slowly how he solved the problem, trying to sound confident even when doubt lingered. Some students nodded quietly, but Miss Carter frowned and shook her head. "You still don't understand the concept. This isn't a matter of trying, but of learning properly," she said sternly. Malik felt the sting of those words as if they pierced deeper than before. Back at his desk, Malik's hands trembled slightly, but inside he refused to give up during lunch break. He talked in whispers with a few friends who supported him. "You can do this, Malik," said Jasmine, a quiet girl who believed in him. "Don't let one bad day decide what you're worth." Their kindness was a small light in the dark school hallways. After school, Malik went home feeling tired and drained. But Granny was waiting for him with a warm smile and a bowl of his favorite soup. "Tell me everything," she said softly, and Malik let the anger and frustration flow as he spoke about Miss Carter and the way she made him feel less than a student. Granny listened without interrupting, her eyes serious but full of love. "I want you to know," Granny said gently, "no one has the right to make you feel small, especially not a teacher who should help and guide you. We will find a way to change this, together." Malik looked at her and felt a wave of comfort. He wasn't alone, and that made him brave. Granny decided that evening to write a letter to the school principal, expressing her concerns and requesting a meeting. It was a bold step, but she believed it was necessary. The next morning, she prepared to visit the school personally, ready to stand for Malik and all children who deserved respect and fairness. Meanwhile, Miss Carter faced her own struggle. The words Granny spoke in class lingered in her mind more than she expected. She began to think about her teaching style and the way she judged Malik so quickly. The thought unsettled her, but she did not show it. She had a reputation to maintain and feared losing control. At the school, whispers spread about Granny's visit, and many teachers shared their opinions quietly. Some saw her as a strong advocate, others as a troublemaker, but everyone felt the tension in the air. When Granny arrived, the principal welcomed her with respect, and they agreed to a meeting soon to discuss Malik's situation. The school seemed to be on the edge of change. Malik watched everything unfold with a cautious hope. He knew the path ahead wouldn't be easy, but the support from Granny and his friends kept him steady. He began to study harder, using extra books Granny borrowed from the library. He spent long evenings solving equations until the numbers started to feel less like worries and more like puzzles to solve with pride. The days passed with small victories, a correct answer in class, a smile from Jasmine, encouragement from Granny. Slowly, Malik's confidence began to grow. And even Miss Carter noticed his efforts. Her glare softened sometimes, and she started asking him questions that showed she was paying closer attention. Outside the classroom, the principal called a meeting with teachers and parents, where Granny shared her views on kindness and patience in education. Her words were simple but powerful, reminding everyone that teaching was not just about facts and figures, but about shaping young minds with care. The school promised to support Malik and work on creating a better learning environment for all students. Malik's journey was far from over, but the storm of shame that had hit him was changing to a calm determination. With Granny's fierce love and the slowly shifting attitude at school, he found new hope. Though the road was steep and sometimes lonely, Malik proved that courage could rise even from the hardest days. This part of the story shows how resilience and family support can challenge unfairness and help a teen find his voice and strength. It highlights the beginning of change inside a school community where respect and understanding start to grow. After the meeting at the school, Malik felt a small but steady change in the air. Though Miss Carter had not directly apologized, her attitude in class began to shift in small ways. She was more patient when Malik asked questions and sometimes gave him extra time to explain his answers. It was not a big change, but to Malik, it felt like the first step toward respect. At home, Malik's confidence grew as Granny continued to support him every day. She helped him with homework and encouraged him to believe in himself when Malik made mistakes. Granny reminded him that failure was a part of learning and that what mattered was not giving up. These words became a quiet strength inside him. Pushing him forward, meanwhile, Carter started noticing Malik's effort and began reflecting on her own teaching methods. She realized that some of the pressure she put on students made them afraid to try, especially Malik. She feared that if she changed, her reputation for strictness might weaken, but deep down, she wanted to be a better teacher. One afternoon, Miss Carter stayed late after school, preparing a new lesson plan that focused on encouraging students to ask questions and find answers together. She planned group activities to help students feel safe when making mistakes, and she thought about how to recognize effort over just perfect answers. This was new for her, and she worried about how the other teachers might react. At school, Malik found new friends who helped him with math and cheered him on. His struggle became a shared story that connected many students who had felt misunderstood before. The teacher noticed this spirit and decided to include more group work in the classroom. One day, Malik explained a math problem to a smaller group of classmates. Using the steps Granny had taught him, the feeling of helping others made him proud and less afraid of failure. Outside the classroom walls, Granny met with other parents who were also concerned about how their children were treated. They formed a group to talk with the teachers and principal regularly. Their goal was to create a safe and kind school for every child. Not just for Malik, but for all who needed encouragement. Teachers agreed to training sessions on positive communication and the power of empathy in education. As weeks passed, the change became clearer. Miss Carter apologized quietly to Malik one morning after class. "I'm sorry if I made you feel small," she said, her voice soft but honest. Malik nodded, feeling a mix of relief and hope. He realized that even adults could learn and change, and that made him believe his efforts could matter more than ever. Malik's grades improved, but more importantly, he started to enjoy learning again. The numbers on the page were no longer enemies, but challenges waiting to be solved. His classmates saw him differently now, not as the kid who was embarrassed, but as someone who was brave and growing stronger. The school took notice, celebrating the students who helped create a caring environment. Granny watched with pride as Malik moved forward, knowing that her stand at the school had sparked something bigger than just one boy's story. She stayed active in the school community, helping other families speak up for their children. Sometimes the smallest voices need the loudest support, and Granny understood how important it was to be that voice when needed. In the quiet moments before bed, Malik thought about what had happened and what was still ahead. He felt grateful for Granny's love and the teachers who were learning to listen. He dreamed of a day when no student would feel the shame he once felt, when school would be a place of kindness and understanding for all. And with each new morning, he found the courage to take another step. This part of the story shows how change can begin slowly but surely through effort, reflection, and support. It tells how a young boy's struggle became a lesson for a whole school about respect, empathy, and the power of standing up for what is right. After weeks of quiet changes, Malik's world began to open in ways he never expected. The support from Granny and his friends gave him new energy. But the real turning point came when the school decided to hold a special event called Voices of Change, meant to celebrate students and teachers working together. Malik was nervous but excited to take part on the day of the event. The school auditorium was filled with students, parents, and teachers. The principal welcomed everyone and spoke about how important it was to create a space where everyone felt safe and respected. Then, it was time for students to share their stories and talents. Malik stood backstage, his heart pounding. But Granny's encouraging smile gave him courage when Malik's turn came. He walked to the microphone and took a deep breath. He spoke honestly about his struggles with math, the embarrassment he felt in class, and how Granny's love had helped him fight back against shame. His voice was steady, even when he shared the hardest moments. The audience listened quietly, some with tears, others nodding in understanding. Malik's story touched many hearts. After Malik's speech, Miss Carter came forward and shared her experience. She admitted that she had judged too quickly and that meeting Malik and his granny had changed her view on teaching. "I still have much to learn," she said, "but I am committed to being a better teacher for every student here." The applause was warm and genuine, building a bridge between teacher and student that had once seemed impossible. The event sparked conversations that continued through the week. Teachers began to ask students how they could help each other learn better. Parents joined in discussions about kindness and respect, and the school community grew closer. Malik found himself helping younger students with math, sharing what he had learned and the confidence he had gained. It was a new role for him, one he embraced gladly. Granny became a quiet hero in the background, attending meetings and offering advice from her years of experience. She reminded the school that every voice mattered, no matter how small it seemed. Her strength and wisdom had awakened a sleeping fire within the school walls, pushing them to rethink what education could be. Malik also started to see changes in himself beyond academics. He felt braver when speaking up, kinder when helping others, and more patient when faced with challenges. The old fear of failure was replaced by a hunger to grow. Fueled by the love and respect he finally received, his journey became not just about math, but about being seen, heard, and valued. Through this transformation, the school began new projects focused on mental health, anti-bullying, and building a community of care. Miss Carter partnered with counselors to create workshops for teachers about cultural sensitivity and positive discipline. The classrooms became places where mistakes were seen as chances to learn rather than moments of shame. A spirit of understanding and respect slowly took root. Malik's story spread beyond the school, reaching local newspapers and inspiring other students who faced similar struggles. His courage to speak out, backed by Granny's fierce support, showed that change was possible when people came together to stand against injustice. The community began to see the power of empathy and the importance of listening with open hearts. As the school year progressed, Malik's achievements grew. Not only did he improve his math skills, but he also became a role model for kindness and resilience. His teachers recognized his hard work with awards, and classmates looked up to him with new respect. The once shy and hurt teenager was blossoming into a confident young man ready to face his future. In the quiet moments at home, Malik thanked Granny for never giving up on him. She smiled and said, "You had the strength all along. I was just here to remind you to believe in yourself." Their bond was unbreakable, a foundation that no hardship could shake. Together they looked forward to the bright days ahead, knowing the journey was still ongoing, but the hardest part had been faced. This part of the story highlights the power of community, forgiveness, and transformation, showing how courage and love could change both a young boy and the people around him. It proves that when individuals open their hearts, even difficult situations can turn into moments of hope and growth. Granny's arrival at the school the day after Malik's public humiliation sent shockwaves through the halls. Her presence was unexpected but powerful, and it forced the school community to face issues they had ignored for too long. As she stormed into the principal's office, staff and teachers whispered in surprise, wondering what the strong woman wanted to say. She spoke calmly but firmly to the principal, explaining how deeply hurt Malik had been. Not just by the math problem, but by the way Miss Carter had treated him in front of everyone, Granny said. No child should ever feel less than worthy in a place where they come to learn and grow. Her words echoed with a mix of pain and fierce protection. Hearing Granny's story brought out a wave of emotions from the school leaders. They had seen the problem but had not acted quickly enough. The principal promised to investigate fully and ensure Malik and other students would receive the respect and support they deserved. A meeting was scheduled with Malik's family, teachers, and counselors to find a way forward. Meanwhile, news about Granny's visit spread through the school like wildfire. Students who had felt isolated before now felt hopeful. Teachers started to question their own attitudes and teaching methods, and parents demanded better care for their children. The school was beginning to change, but the road was still long and filled with challenges. Granny did not stop at just confronting the school. She organized gatherings with parents and community members, telling stories of Malik's struggle and the importance of standing up for children's rights. More voices joined hers, and soon a group was formed with the mission to bring kindness and fairness to the schools in the area. Granny became a respected leader, inspiring others to act. As the school reopened after the meeting, Malik noticed that things were different. Ames Carter no longer called on him in a harsh voice. Instead, she asked him if he needed extra help and encouraged him to speak up when confused. This was a huge change, one that made Malik feel safer and more confident. His classmates noticed too and began to include him more in group work and projects. The teachers started workshops to learn about empathy, cultural sensitivity, and positive ways to discipline and motivate students. The school environment slowly shifted from one of fear and judgment to one of encouragement and understanding. Malik felt this change deeply because now he was not only learning math but also how to believe in his own worth. Gradually, his grades improved, but more importantly, so did his attitude toward school. One afternoon, Malik's grandmother came to watch his math class, sitting quietly in the back. She saw Malik answer questions with a steady voice, and Miss Carter nodding approvingly. Granny smiled with pride, knowing her presence had helped not just Malik but many others. After class, teachers and parents gathered to thank Granny for her courage and commitment to making the school better for every child. At home, Malik and Granny talked about what had happened, and Malik shared how he was beginning to enjoy school again. Granny listened and reminded him that every step forward was a victory. No matter how small it seemed, it mattered. She told Malik to continue being strong and to always stand up for himself and others, because sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is to keep believing when times are hard. Malik's story had grown beyond just a classroom struggle. It had become a lesson in courage, dignity, and change. His grandmother's fierce love and bold actions had sparked something powerful, changing not only one teacher's approach but a whole school spirit. Malik embraced his new role as a learner and a leader, ready to face whatever challenges would come next. This part of the story focuses on the turning point when Granny's bold intervention starts to create change, showing how one person's courage can inspire a community to rethink and rebuild. It highlights the power of love and advocacy in overcoming injustice and bringing hope to those who need it most. As the school year progressed, the atmosphere at the school began to feel different. The teachers and students were learning to understand each other better, and the lessons were becoming more than just about textbooks and numbers. Miss Carter, who had once been so strict and impatient, started showing more care and interest in her students' feelings as well as their grades. She began asking questions like, "How can I help you learn better?" and "What do you find hard about this problem?" Rather than just pointing out mistakes, Malik noticed this change clearly in his own experience. Where before he had feared raising his hand, he now felt comfortable asking questions and participating in class discussions. His math grades steadily improved as he practiced more, but more importantly, he gained confidence that reached far beyond the classroom. At home, Granny was proud and often reminded him that this was only the beginning of many successes to come. One day, during a math lesson led by Miss Carter, Malik was given the chance to explain a tricky problem to the entire class. Standing in front of his peers, he spoke clearly and patiently, breaking down the steps in a way everyone could understand. The students listened carefully, some even asked questions, and Miss Carter smiled with pride. "Well done, Malik," she said. "You've really improved." This moment was a milestone for Malik. It showed him that hard work and the right support could turn challenges into opportunities. Meanwhile, the school continued to work together to heal and grow from the past. Teachers attended workshops about diversity and positive communication, and students joined clubs that focused on teamwork and inclusiveness. The principal made sure policies were updated to protect students from unfair treatment and to encourage respect at all times. At home, Malik and Granny talked often about the changes happening at school and in Malik's life. Granny reminded him that learning was a lifelong journey and that every step forward was valuable. She said, "Remember, Malik, your story is not just about math or school. It's about standing strong and opening doors for others who might be struggling too." These words inspired Malik to think about how he could help other students. Soon, Malik began tutoring fellow classmates who found math difficult. Just like Granny had helped him, he wanted to share what he had learned and offer encouragement. His patience and kindness made him a favorite tutor, and many students improved their skills and confidence because of him. Malik's role as a leader grew, showing that he was not just a learner but also a teacher in his own right. Meanwhile, Miss Carter struggled sometimes with letting go of her old ways. There were moments she felt frustrated or doubted her changes, but she remembered the impact Granny's words had on her, and she kept pushing herself to be more understanding and supportive. Her growing respect for Malik and other students balanced the hard lessons she had once given. The school community began to see her as a teacher who was learning and changing. Just like the students she taught, the school year ended with a celebration of progress and hope. Families, students, and teachers gathered to share stories and successes. The event was filled with laughter, applause, and plans for the future. Malik was recognized for his courage and leadership, and Granny received special thanks for her role in inspiring change. The journey was far from over, but the school had taken important steps toward becoming a place where every child could feel safe and valued. In the quiet spaces between these big moments, Malik dreamed of the future. He imagined a life where challenges were just new puzzles to solve, not walls to stop him. He thought about college and a career where he could use his love of math to help others. And he knew Granny would be by his side as always, cheering him on and believing in him no matter what. This part of the story shows the ongoing process of healing and growth, demonstrating how courage, support, and willingness to change can transform a young person's life and build a stronger community. It reminds us that true learning includes kindness and respect, and that every voice matters in the journey to create a better world. The atmosphere of change at the school continued to grow stronger as more students, teachers, and families joined the effort to create a better place for learning. Malik's story had become a symbol of hope, showing how courage and support could bring transformation even in tough situations. Teachers who once doubted the power of kindness began to see its real value in their classrooms. One particularly important day arrived when the principal announced a new program called Together We Learn, designed to help students and teachers build understanding, respect, and teamwork. The program included workshops, group projects, and open discussions where students could share their experiences and feelings without fear. Malik was proud to be a part of this, and he often spoke about how important it was to listen to others and work together. Miss Carter, now more confident in her role as a caring teacher, volunteered to lead some of the workshops. She wanted to show that even adults could learn and change. During these sessions, she shared her own journey of growth and asked students to suggest ways teachers could improve. Malik listened carefully as his classmates spoke openly about bullying, frustration, and hope. The conversations were not always easy, but they helped the school community grow closer. At home, Granny watched with a warm heart as Malik became a leader among his peers. She encouraged him to keep being patient and kind, reminding him that real change often took time and effort. Granny also continued her work outside the school, helping other community groups support young people facing challenges. Her courage and wisdom inspired many, proving that one person's passion could spark a wider movement. Malik's new friendships and responsibilities made him feel connected and valued. He found joy in helping others and sharing what he had learned with younger students. Sometimes he thought about the days when he felt ashamed and alone, and he was grateful for the journey that had brought him to this place of strength and hope. His love of math grew, but his love for community grew deeper. Meanwhile, Miss Carter faced a tough moment when a parent questioned her teaching methods. The parent was upset about a misunderstanding in class and worried about their child's experience. Instead of reacting defensively, Miss Carter listened carefully and promised to work harder to communicate clearly and build trust. This moment showed both the challenges and the opportunities in changing old habits and building new bridges of understanding. The school's progress caught the attention of the local education authority, which invited Malik and Granny to speak at a community event about school reform and student support. They shared their story with a larger audience, inspiring others to believe in the power of love, courage, and change. Malik spoke about the importance of respect and kindness in schools, while Granny highlighted the power of standing up for what is right and never giving up. As the school year drew to a close, a special ceremony was held to celebrate the achievements of students and teachers who had worked hard to make a difference. Malik received a special award for his courage and leadership. Standing on the stage with Granny by his side, he felt proud and hopeful. The crowd cheered not just for him, but for the spirit of change that his journey represented. In the quiet moments after the ceremony, Malik thought about the future. He knew there would still be challenges ahead, but he felt ready. Supported by the community he had helped strengthen, Granny's unwavering belief in him was a constant source of comfort and motivation. Together, they dreamed of a day when every school would be a place of fairness, respect, and hope for all children. This part of the story highlights the power of ongoing growth, community action, and leadership, showing how a young boy's story could inspire a whole school and beyond to embrace kindness and change. It reminds us that true progress comes through listening, understanding, and the courage to keep moving forward. The final part of Malik's journey brought a sense of closure and new beginnings. His confidence had grown beyond what even he had imagined, and Granny's support remained a powerful force in his life. The school had transformed, no longer a place of fear and judgment, but a community built on care, respect, and hope. At the start of a new school year, Malik returned to school with excitement and a greater sense of purpose. He was now seen not just as a student, but as a leader and example to others. The changes put in place had helped many students feel safer and more encouraged, and teachers had embraced the lessons of patience and empathy with renewed energy. One morning, the principal announced a new scholarship program for students who showed courage and community spirit. Malik was selected as the first recipient, an honor that filled him with pride and gratitude. This scholarship was more than money. It symbolized the hard work and change everyone had fought for, and it reminded Malik that his struggles and efforts could open doors for himself and others. Granny watched with tears of joy as Malik accepted the award on stage. The community's journey, sparked by her fierce heart and Malik's silent bravery, had created a ripple effect far beyond their school walls. Parents and teachers now worked together more closely. Students felt safer to speak out, and the lessons learned continued to inspire. Malik's dreams also grew bigger, fueled by the opportunities now within his reach. He planned to study not only math but also education, hoping one day to become a teacher who could help students like himself. His vision was to build a world where all children would be believed in, supported, and encouraged to shine. No child should ever feel the shame and fear he once felt. He often remembered the hard days, the embarrassment in class, the silence that followed, and the weight of judgment, and felt grateful for Granny's courage that stood as a shield to protect him. It was a reminder that love and boldness could change lives and that every voice mattered in the fight against injustice. Malik carried that lesson with him wherever he went. The school continued to grow as a place of kindness and learning. Programs expanded to celebrate diversity, mental health, and teamwork. Teachers and students worked together to support each other, and the community looked on with pride. The story of Malik and his Granny had become a beacon, a testimony to what could happen when people chose to listen, care, and act in the years to come. Malik's story inspired other students, parents, teachers, and leaders to stand up for fairness and respect. The journey was never easy, but it showed that change was possible when courage met compassion. Malik knew his story was just one of many, but it was proof that no one should ever be silenced or shamed. Instead, Every challenge was a chance to grow stronger and help others do the same. As Malik prepared to graduate, he looked back not with regret but with pride in how far he had come. The math problems that once made him feel lost were now tools to build a future, and Granny's love, fierce and steady, reminded him that family and faith could carry anyone through the darkest storms. This final part of the story celebrates resilience, hope, and the lasting impact of standing up for what is right, showing how a young boy and his grandmother changed a school, inspired a community, and created a brighter path for generations to come. It is a story of transformation that reminds us all to choose kindness, believe in ourselves, and never give up on hope.